use of AI in sales at Fraction. What are we doing there? I'll tell you what we're not doing to start. We have yet to go all in on this notion of AI agents that actually try to be high-end BDRs or SDRs, actually to do that outreach work. I think that there's still room for humans in that process and that there's a lot of subtlety involved. Now, that's not to say that automation and even Gen AI-based automation isn't valuable there. But I'll talk about a couple of things that we are doing that are, in my mind, sort of lower hanging fruit. And so one of those, basically everybody's got their recordings, right? Everybody's got their recording tool joining their meetings, and you've got all of these recordings, and then you've got transcripts. So the recordings naturally lead to AI-generated transcripts, which is great. Really, the question is, what are you doing with this? How are you using this to disseminate information within your organization? How's the sales team themselves using it? And so recordings, transcripts, what I would say, a piece that gets missed sometimes, is just using this to disseminate information internally. And that's via highlight reels as much as anything, because one of the issues that we found is that, hey, you've got like a 30-minute meeting, a 40-minute meeting. If you try to ask folks to watch all of that, even sped up, it's a lot of time. So summarizing these down to highlight reels. Why highlight reels and not just transcripts? Well, first of all, folks aren't as likely to read it, but also because you do want to hear directly from the customer. So as opposed to, one salesperson explaining to another or to management or to somebody else that they, where they need help explaining something. Now every time it goes through another set of, human hands or, back and forth, that's a game of telephone, right? You have information loss or transmutation at every step. Highlight reels, they're hearing directly from the horse's mouth. So you're hearing directly from the customer what it was that they were looking for or what the issues were. So having that and utilizing sales calls and sales information that way. All right, so then more particular to our business, what are we able to extract from these transcripts and from these meetings from a sales perspective? It's client needs, which in our case quite often is a tech stack, and that may be a tech stack as in actual technology, I don't know, like your typical React, Node, Postgres, whatever. But it's quite often it's a martech stack these days. So, whatever tools a client is using in their marketing operations or otherwise. So client needs, extracting those. And then for us, client needs, once you've got that goes naturally to AI-based talent matching. Because if I've got the client needs, and of course we have our internal database of our entire talent pool, so automating this matching process, now I can pull up right after the call in real time or close to real time, I can pull up the transcript, via AI workflow. I can feed that in. I can get sort of that short list of client needs. I can then do essentially a RAG style lookup, but I can do talent matching in my database and pull, who appear to be, say, the 3 or 5 best matches for that need. And I can surface that back to the salesperson. So of course you're going to have a human review that before it goes anywhere. But that process, that is taking hours off the back of humans right there. Then there's a next step. Once you've got this, and this is, I think, really important, and this is an absolute power feature that, there are quite a few vendors in this space, but it's auto generation, so auto gen proposals. So the actual sales proposal itself, based on, the recommendations that have been made, auto generating a proposal. So now the salesperson has that artifact as well and can ship that much faster. So it's sort of closing the loop from a sales call to figuring out what they need to generating a proposal against that. All of this, which, we were finding, in human hands could take days because people are busy. It's not because if they sat down to it, maybe they could knock this out in a couple hours. But even so, it's a couple of hours. But with being busy and taking on other responsibilities, it drags out. And so that's where AI to the rescue. You can accelerate this process and accelerate in a way that's superior to just having more humans, because rather than having more humans doing all of these things, it's the same person, who did the sales call and then a lot of automation who is then vetting the final output. So no information loss going from hands, across different people's hands either.